Yeah. But, you know, but the cats who, you know, spend all this time meticulously tuning and doing shit and then put moon gels and tape all over this shit, I'm like, the fuck? Why did you spend all that time tuning? You just put the drum head on and just done anything and thrown shit on it, and you've been fine.
Old wives.
Marseille, welcome to France.
Yeah.
It's warm outside. It's wonderful. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Women here are lovely. You're a lucky man.
Yeah, we are.
I would say as muffling technique, or if you want to call it that, you know what I mean? Just use a couple pieces of gaffer's tape.
Okay, great.
As opposed to moon gels and wallets and so forth and so on. Because a lot of times, too, I find when you use those moon gel things, or if you put a wallet, then when you get on the gig, now it's too much. You know? You can't hear yourself, or you're asking to just monitor, man, turn the snare drum up, blah, 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 blah. This way, you know, it always cuts through. Never had a sound man or, you know, complain about the tape and so forth and so on. So it works well for me. Been doing it for a long time.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Buy Drumcraft. They're good.
Hi Poogie, thank you for coming. Thank you for this interview.
No problem.
First of all, tell us please a few words about the Poogie Bell Band project.
My band so features Bobby Sparks, Patrick Stewart, and Chris Hemingway on alto, and sometimes Keith Anderson on tenor. We are I guess, been called everything from rhythm and soul to jazz funk kind of thing, and we play music that I grew up listening to, or in that vein of style of, you know, the Herbie and Headhunters and George Duke and Weather Report, and you know, my big brother Marcus does. We just do it our own way, and it's a fun project, and we've been coming back and forth to Europe now since about 2007, and people come out and have been enjoying the shows, and we've been having a lot of fun.
Okay, great. You are performing with a lot of famous musicians. Who's the one who inspired you the most?
Oh man, that's
question.
That's a hard question. Well, you know, I think every musical experience, first of all, it's a blessing to be able to do what you love to do. And I've learned so much from working with all the married people that I've worked with, from everybody from straight ahead gigs to rock gigs to the funk gigs to the pop gigs to, you know, if you're smart and wise, you know, you don't question where God sends you. You just go, show up, and do it. You know, so it's hard to pick one artist. I mean, I learned a lot, obviously, you know, working with my big brother, you know, playing with Roberta Flack. But, you know, this particular tour, I'm working with Reggie Washington and his trio. It's the first time I've ever toured in a trio setting. And it's completely different from other things that I've done, you know, but from DRW big band to, you know, all, you know, but each one is unique within itself. So it would be unfair for me to say, well, this one was the best, you know, because I usually have a good time because I'm doing what I love to do, which is make music.
Yeah. You know? Did you adapt your way of playing drums when you breaked into the R&B world?
I had to adjust my way of drumming long time ago. When I was 12, 13, 14, I was a big, huge Billy Cobham fan. So I would play for 8 bars, and it'd be this big, huge drum roll. Every 8 bars, big, huge drum roll. I got to work with a man named Weldon Irvine. Weldon wrote lyrics for Young, Gifted, and Black for Nina Simone, who's a great songwriter. So when I started working with him, first thing he said was, okay, you're gonna play 1 and 3 on the bass drum, 2 and 4 on the snare drum, and 8th notes on your hi-hat. Don't touch another drum until I tell you to. You know? So coming up in my father's a jazz musician, so coming up playing jazz, always creating and so forth and so on, which most people don't realize that my background was a straight ahead drummer. You know, I had to learn the discipline of being able to play simple, you know, and it's really funny to me that people just think of me as a guy who just plays pocket, you know. It's really funny because I play a myriad of musical styles, you know. I think the most important thing any musician can do, regardless of what instrument they play, is that whatever music you're playing, you play what that particular music needs. You don't play all the stuff that you practice at home by yourself and then come inflict it on somebody's gig. That's the quickest way to get fired. You know, so I think the most important thing is to learn and understand that every music is different. And I think Ray Charles probably said it the best. It's not, every music has a soul. Can you, the musician, surrender your soul to that particular brand of music? You know? So I've always taken pride in that. You know, whatever gig I've been on, I didn't want to stick out like a sore thumb. You know? You have a lot of musicians going to gigs and literally auditioning for some future gig and hoping somebody's going to see them in the audience and pick them up. You know? When in reality, if you have respect for the music, which is having respect for yourself as well, chances are good you're going to work more. You know, so I think that you should be able to play. If I find myself in a straight ahead setting and I'm playing with a bunch of guys who are like much older than me, well, I'm going to play I'm going to keep things really in the pocket for them. You know, or if I'm playing behind Shaka Khan, well, I'm going to keep things in the pocket for her. But on like Reggie's gig, when it's funk, but it's almost like free-form funk. So I can take all the liberties I want and play whatever, you know what I mean? But this music lends itself to do that, is my point. So you have to know when to be able to turn things on, when to turn things off. You know, the sad thing is, in the world we live in now, people want to put you in a box. It's like, well, this person does this person does this person does that. You know, you meet a lot of young guys now, and they'll say to you, well, you know, I'm a rock drummer, or I'm a funk drummer, I'm a jazz drummer, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm the other. And I'm always saying to myself, well, aren't you a musician? I mean, isn't that why you started playing music, to be a musician? You know, it doesn't make any sense. I don't think there's anything wrong having your favorites, you know, it's cool, you know, but why would you want to limit yourself to whatever, you know? So if I got called for a Latin gig tomorrow, I'm going to go play with the Latin cats. If Willie Nelson calls me tomorrow, I'm going to go play with Willie Nelson. If Ziggy Marley called me tomorrow, I'm going to go be able to play with Ziggy. You know, you should be able to play what's going on and be able to play it musically, you know? And I think a lot of that is missing now. It's just disappeared, you know?
What are your plans for the future?
My plans for the future would simply be to keep growing and developing as a musician and as a band leader, you know. It's a completely different thing from being a sideman to leading a band and, you know, dealing with managers and booking agents and club owners and so forth and so on, and always having an answer for someone, because you always have to have an answer, you know. So my goal is to keep working, developing my skills, and becoming, you know, a band leader. And hopefully, at some point, people will not look at a drummer and say, "How can you lead a band?" You know, I'm trying to eliminate that question. I get asked that question too much, you know. So that's, you know, probably my biggest goal, to eliminate that question. But just to keep growing, you know. I want to be like Sonny Rollins, you know. I want to keep, you know, Sonny's 70, 80 years old, man. He still gets up and practices and is working out and trying to get better, you know. You know, I want to be that guy.
In the same direction, what kind of advice would you give us to try to reach your level in the groove?
Oh, that's real simple. You have to set a goal for yourself. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to be willing to put in the work. You have to be willing to put in the work. If you are a drummer, pro drummer or amateur or weekend warrior or whatever, and if you live in an apartment or if you live somewhere close to people who hear your drums, if there's someone not in your community complaining about the fact that they hear drums all the fucking time, you're not practicing enough. You're not working hard enough. And I guess the most important thing, develop your own style. Develop your own sound. Don't stop watching YouTube. Stop watching those drum videos. You know, use your mind. Close your eyes. Imagine in your head what the person played. This will help you develop your own sound. You know, we have so many people now. You can hear 10 drummers and hear damn near the same thing 10 times. When I was coming up, everybody was working to try to be themselves, whatever that is, good, bad, or indifferent. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying don't borrow and steal. I'm saying once you do, learn your own, do your own thing, be your own man. Don't be afraid to sound like you. It's okay. You know, because that's what's going to get you work.
Mm-hmm. How did you met the Drumcraft brand?
Man, Drumcraft. I guess I've been playing drums since I was 2 years old. Okay? This is the first time for a long time that I have been excited about getting up and going downstairs in my basement and practicing. And the drums have a lot to do with that. You know what I mean? I think that over a period of time, we're going to see a lot of guys playing on these drums. You know? You know, German engineering, man. You know, I mean, you think about Mercedes-Benz and BMW. It's like driving one of those, but it's a drum set. You know, the engineering is incredible. Put it to you this way. For 26 years with Yamaha, all I played was maple drums. They could never get me to play their birch drums. I did a whole tour playing birch drums, thinking they were maple. Okay?
Yeah.
That's how nice the sound is. The birch drums. And then I asked one of the guys, and he was like, well, we get the wood from Siberia, someplace where the wood's real dense and it's real cold and this, that, and the other. But it's the first time I ever played birch drums. When you think of birch drums, you just think warm tone, warm tone. The drums have warm tone, but they have a tack that's amazing, you know? And I've almost, like, the drums I have in my house that DC sent me are birch drums. And I love them, you know? My wife now is kind of looking at me like, you know, you used to practice before, but you're practicing a lot more now. And I said, well, yeah, you know, I got a really great axe. And it makes me want to get up and go downstairs and play, much to her chagrin.
Cool, thank you. This was an interview of Poogie for Give a Imac. Thank you very much.
Hey,
thank you, and
my
welcome
pleasure.
in France.
My pleasure.